Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Songwriter Spotlight. My name is Sonia, and I'm going to be your host this evening. We are coming to you from the West Tennessee Delta Heritage Center in Brownsville, Tennessee, home of the Tina Turner Museum, the Sleepy John Estes Home, as well as the West Tennessee Music Museum. We're so glad you chose to join us this evening, and I know you're going to enjoy our artists. His name is Graham Perry, and we're just going to dive right into this. Graham, thank you so much for being with us this evening. It's exciting for me to finally get a chance to spotlight some of your music. For years, you've been coming in and out of the center. We're always excited when we see you coming because we know you're going to pick up a guitar. We know you're going to play us a song. So it's really nice to have you here this evening. So I want to just start at the beginning. First things first. When did your love of music begin?
Well, I'll tell you, I probably don't exactly know the date, but when I was a little boy back in 1966 and the Monkees came out, I was probably 1 year old. My sisters used to set me in front of the TV every night to watch the Monkees, and so I would sit there in a diaper and loved the Monkees. And of course they also had Beatles records, and those to me, because they had my favorite album of all time, Revolver, had all this weird stuff on it, and it scared me, but it also intrigued me. So those were like that, and oh my gosh, Spencer Davis Group, Give Me Some Lovin'. I loved them to play that too. They had a little Motorola Hi-Fi. And I used to just wiggle and dance in front of that, and they had all those records. And those were probably the first three artists that I really loved immediately from when I could barely walk or talk.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in West Nashville, in a neighborhood called Westmead, and it was in a house my dad had built in 1959, and I lived there from birth till I moved to Atlanta, and then to Memphis later on in my 20s.
So when did you start writing your own music?
Well, if you say professionally, that would probably be about 1983 or 84, because I have a song I wrote then that I still play. But I started writing, I guess officially, when I was in 8th grade. And I had a song that I'll never play for anybody that I know and I still remember quite well. But it was like the first complete song that I ever wrote. And of course it was based all on Paul McCartney and the Beatles and things like that, because I was a huge Beatles head. But even before that, when I was probably about 3 years old and we used to go on trips to North Carolina and I-40 had not even passed through the mountains yet, I was kind of rambunctious, and I like to sing, and I like to talk a lot, as you can probably tell right now. Every time I would see Quality Inn signs, they had the little lights, and they were like, and I just thought that was so neat. So when I was a little kid, I would look for Quality Inn signs, and as I would see them, I'd start going, was a beep, beep clock, 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 was a beep, beep clock. And I'd get loud and loud and loud, and then as it faded away, I would fade out, just like the albums that I loved did. You wouldn't think that would be a complete song, and it wasn't, but when I was in the late 80s, I actually added those to the backup vocals of a song called You Tell Me, which was kind of one of my hybrid Motown songs, but I had to memorialize that forever, and it's recorded forever and ever and ever. So that is technically the first little piece I ever wrote.
What's the first song you're going to play for us?
Well, when I moved to Memphis, I started a band called Tucson Simpson, and we've been together for many, many years. It's been over 20. And this was actually a song I wrote. There was a period in my life where I just quit the music business altogether, and then I got sucked back into it. And this was one of the first good songs that I wrote when I came back into it. And I actually co-wrote this with a guy named Martin Crutchfield. But I remember writing the majority of this on my bed in my condo that I had back in 1998, I guess. It's called Rainshine. Well, I built me an altar by the side of the road, had two big boulders and a telephone pole. Got on my knees and said, Lord, please lift me up. Well, I didn't get an answer, but I stood my ground and I waited in the desert till the sun went down. Tried to crank my engines by the wheels, but I got stuck. And an angel said, why don't you clear your head now, little boy? There's only so much you can carry on a worried mind. And an angel said, come on, shake your head now, little boy. I gotta get back on track while there's still time. Keep on running through the rain, shine. Keep on running through the rain, shine. Well, I didn't like the answer that the winged one gave, so I walked a country mile to keep from being enslaved. Sun sank lower, I was dying from the loss of hope. Well, I thought my leather would have saved my life, but it only weighed heavy on my body and mind. I was sucking sand when the spirit man tossed me a rope. And an angel said, why don't you clear your head now, little boy? There's only so much you can carry on a worried mind. And an angel said, come on, shake your head now, little boy. Gotta get back on track while there's still time. Keep on running through the rain, shine. Keep on running through the rain, shine. Rain, keep on running through the rain, shine. And an angel said, why don't you clear your head now, little boy? Gotta get back on track while there's still time. Well, I run through the desert just as fast as I can, trying to stay ahead of the winged man. But I gotta rest soon, gotta lay my poor self down. Said I gotta rest soon, gotta lay my poor self down. Said I gotta rest soon, gotta lay my poor self down. Rain, 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 keep on running through the rain, shine. Rain, keep on running through the rain, shine.
What would you say inspires most of your music?
Well, I'll tell you this. There's a lot of pain and suffering, like there is with any other artist, writer. But the funny thing is sometimes I get so bored and tired of pain and suffering that I'll end up doing something extremely wacky just to break out of that. So, and I'll play it for you at the end, but I have a wacky side, and there's no doubt about it. I have a lot of wacky songs, especially on some of my solo records. Tucson Simpson, we mainly play kind of Americana bullfrog rock, they've always called us. So at least Mary Beth down in Memphis called us that on Live at 9, I remember that. But nevertheless, I guess it does start from pain, and then at some point in time, I just get tired of it. and then I just start doing whatever I want to. Man, I mean, I hear bands, and I get into bands, not necessarily into songs, although that's not true. There are some hit songs that I like, but to me, in the 1970s, albums were like a journey. They went from beginning to end, and it's like you could sit there and listen to it with headphones or through speakers or whatever, and when you hit that first track there on your record player, it would just carry on and on and on and build up, and then of course it would build out, and it was like a story. And so there were influences like Pink Floyd, whose songs always did that. The Who did that. So I kind of carried that with me, and even though I like writing individual songs and I do like some hit songs, it's always been my philosophy, even today, even though it's not really the norm for people to do an album that's beginning to end kind of a story, I try to do that anyway, because maybe it'll come back. I don't know.
I want to know what the inspiration is behind So Cold, So Lonely.
Okay, so back in the 90s, I'd had I guess every guy's had the horrible relationship that they never should have been in, and I was in one for 6.5 years, and I kind of floundered for about 4 years after that, trying to figure out exactly what relationships were all about. And there was a girl that I'd gone to Belmont with, and her name was Michelle White, and she happened to be Tony Joe White's daughter. That's Poke Salad Annie, if you don't know who Tony Joe White is. And you know, we always kind of flirted in college and everything. Well, finally, one night at my friend Trey Smith's studio, they had a party there, and she and I had just like a wonderful night together. It was really great, magical, and of course there was alcohol, but that's beside the point. And the next day she invited me to her house, and I met Tony Joe White, and he gave me a shirt. He was watching football, by the way. But she had to go back to LA that next day or that night. So it was kind of like 24 hours that I really got to spend time with her. But the words just kind of came to me, and it just reminded me of what had happened and what had happened when she was gone and the way I was feeling. So cold, so lonely. Hours ago I met you. 20 minutes fell in love. What I'd give just to forget you. What I got is not enough. When I think how fast your spirit flew, makes me wonder why I love you like I do. So cold, so lonely, running around on the wheel. So cold, so lonely. That's the way you feel when you find someone so real and then they're gone, yeah. 20 hours ago I met you. Find your way into my mind. 20 hours I may forget you, 'cause I'm running out of time. When I think how fast your spirit flew, makes me wonder why I love you like I do. So cold, so lonely, running around on the wheel. So cold, so lonely. That's the way you feel when you find someone so real and they're gone. and they're gone. And I can't go on. When I think how fast your spirit flew, makes me wonder why I love you like I do. Oh, so cold, so lonely, running around on the wheel. So cold, so lonely. That's the way you feel when you find someone so real and they're gone. So cold, so lonely, oh so cold and lonely, running around on the wheel. So cold, so lonely, that's the way you feel when you find someone.
Let's jump back to something you said earlier. You said that you realized that some albums have a beginning and an end. And I know that your real profession is a cultural historian. So is that the kind of mindset that you use when you approach your own music?
You know, I would say that that's a really good point. Because when I do any kind of historical research or when I'm researching a person, I really like to get down and dirty and figure out what's going on in their head. And so I kind of look at people, historical figures, from a variety of perspectives. It can be difficult to do because you can think you know somebody, but you didn't live 200 years ago. So, you know, maybe you really don't. But I just feel like that it's a responsibility of a historian to just get in there and find that story. And yeah, I guess the story is kind of like an album from beginning to end.
Well, do you use historical elements or things that you've researched and learned about in your own music?
It's kind of like, I always like the concept of the whirling dervish, and Tucson Simpson has a song called Bottle of Pain, and the chorus to it is, the whirling dervish disappears in a cloud. He's bringing in the djinn who's keeping me down in a bottle of pain. So there's just concepts that I've learned over the years through history, and I love to pull them into songs, even if they don't have anything to do with the whirling dervish.
You want to tell us what a whirling dervish is?
Oh, a whirling dervish is it's a type of meditator, because they spin around and around and around, and the whole concept is that by spinning around you sort of disappear from sight and you enter the world of the heavens. And I just thought that concept was pretty cool.
So what's the next song you're going to play for us?
This is another song I do with Tucson Simpson. And my dad's side of the family, half of them on his mother's side came from kind of north central Alabama, east of Birmingham. It's kind of an interesting place to go visit. The dirt's all red, and sometimes it can be kind of spooky. So, you know, when you tune down, you always get a spooky sound. And so, you know, whenever I'm going to do a spooky song, I'll tune that E down. But this one came out of, it's called Alabama. It don't seem so long ago that all the wheels were turning mighty slow. In the draw on Papaw's land, the slough meandered through redstone sand. And our immersion seemed important at the time. Alabama Alabama, where we died. Don't wanna be there when Catawba's where beneath the sun-drenched sky. Alabama, where we lie. I wanna be there when the concrete crumbles and the moonlight daylight shines. We tried to restrain the past with barbed wire fences ever holding fast. But when we reaped what we had sown, we found the seeds already too far grown. Still our immersion seemed important for all time. Alabama, where we died. Don't wanna be there when Catawba's where beneath the sun-drenched sky. Alabama, where we lie. I wanna be there when the concrete crumbles in the moonlight daylight shine. When we tried to make a stand on a strip mine mountain in a rebel land, nothing lay beneath our feet, some erosion scars and a busy one-way street. No resurrection, 'cause we just can't find the time. Yeah, Alabama, where we died. We wanna be there when Catawba's where beneath the sun-drenched sky. Alabama, where we lie. Don't wanna be there when the concrete crumbles and the moonlight shines. Alabama, where we die. Don't wanna be there when the concrete crumbles and the moonlight shines. Alabama, where we lie. I wanna be there when the concrete crumbles and the moonlight daylight shines. Alabama, Alabama.
Where can people find more of your music?
Tucson Simpson actually has 3. One of them is an EP that's called Drawn and Ready. You can't find the individual songs on Spotify or Amazon Music or whatever you want to, whatever your preference is. And of course, the first full-length album we did was Hot Town, and that one we released in, I guess it was 2003 or 2004. And we were the number 14 ad in the CMJ for 1 week, and we beat out Pearl Jam and George Harrison. So we have stuff on here. And then there's Rainshine, which we released in 2010. And you can find Hot Town and Rainshine pretty much anywhere online. I mean, they sell the actual CD on Amazon and also the individual songs. My solo stuff, the first solo record I did was Paraphernalia. And the songs you can find on Spotify. Then my most recent release was Graham Perry's Jambon Gris, which means gray ham in French, for those of you who get the joke. Nevertheless, this one, man, I was really, really, really proud of this record. And of course, the music industry and radio completely changed by the time I brought this one out. But you can find the songs and also some of the CDs online. And this is the double secret one nobody knows about. I released 8 songs under the pseudonym Hophead. They were songs I recorded back in the early 90s, and I never could find a drummer. I never had a drummer. So it's all drum machine. But this one was actually recorded in Studio 19 in Nashville, and that was run by an icon in Memphis, Larry Rogers.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your songs that have been published. Tell us about some of the ones we might hear on some favorite TV shows.
I always tell young people to do this. Always, 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 anytime, it doesn't matter how great your record or how horrible it is, always make sure you get an instrumental mix as well as your vocal mix. Because I have never gotten anything with my vocals in a TV show, but a lot of instrumentals. The Tucson Simpson did, and some of the solo things I did. The song Cold Water, the song Tucson Simpson's Hot Town record, was in ABC's Extreme Home Makeover. It's actually the thing that kicks off the show. It's pretty neat. We got some drop-ins in, oh my gosh, MTV, what are those shows? We got some drop-ins in Real World, and we got some drop-ins in another show too, which I fail to remember right now. And also, I had some of my solo stuff in Toddlers and Tiaras. So I always thank Honey Boo Boo for, well, I'm sure she didn't pick the music, but thank you, Honey Boo Boo. Also got something in, it was interesting, there was a documentary on Heath Ledger, and I got a song in that, and it only ran like one time, and I keep seeing it up there, but it never runs, and I never get any more credits for it. But those are the kind of bread and butter things that you can do for yourself that will at least keep you in guitar strings.
What's your inspiration? What inspired the song Cry Like a Baby?
Well, I'll tell you, I actually dreamed of this song. One night when I was living in Memphis, I just had this incredible dream, and it was very live and very moving. In the dream, I was the only white person in it, but it was an African-American church. I don't know if it was CME or AME, but I didn't get that detailed in the dream, but there were like some kind of dark storm clouds overhead, and there was this line of people, and people were crying and wailing, and it was so emotional. And there were these tables set up right in front of the church, and there were people at the church, or at the tables, doing something, I couldn't tell what. And this man, who was dressed in a pinstripe suit, was going up and down the line singing this chorus, and that man turned out to be Rick James. And he was dead at the time, so I just want you to say I did not rip off a Rick James song. But he was singing this chorus, and it was so emotional. I was like, man, this is the greatest thing in the whole, oh my gosh, I've never had such emotion in my whole life. What are they giving away? What are they doing at those tables up there? And finally, when the line moved and I got to the table, they were passing out haircuts. I obviously did not get one. But the song came out of it. I woke up, I had the chorus, and I just went to the piano, actually, and wrote the rest of it. So it came pretty quick. I've always wished a gospel group would cut this. So I think it would make a good gospel tune. I'm not a gospel singer, but... One step closer, finding my faith. One foot in Hell's Kitchen and one on the move. Stretching to reach you, but bound by my fate. I always believed I had something to prove. in my faith. One foot in Hell's Kitchen and one on the move. Walls crumbled down, I forgot about you. When all that survived was the image of you. Whoa, and I cried like a baby, cried like a baby every time you call me home. And I cry, Lord, I cry, every time you call me home. Call me on home. Call me on home.
Thank y'all so much for joining us this evening. I hope that you've enjoyed Graham Perry as much as I have. Be sure and go to the sites that he mentioned and download some of his music. And then plan to be here in 2 weeks when we'll spotlight another singer-songwriter from the West Tennessee area. Graham, you know it's always a pleasure to have you in the building. Thank you so much for being here. You promised us something wild and wacky. Maybe you could play us out with it.
This is a song, I actually wrote it back in 1988, and I actually put out a single, which shows you my age. It was on vinyl, and this song was kind of a moderate hit on college radio with my old band, Greek Life Aquarium, and that's a story in itself, Greek Life Aquarium. But I decided that I needed to recut it, and I've got it on my Jambon Gris record, and you can find it out there. And normally I play this on funk bass, but I don't have funk bass here today, so I'll just try to play it on the acoustic guitar. How about that?
What's the title of it?
Don't eat the cow. Don't eat the cow, 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 don't eat. She's not good for you. She's not good for me. She's not good for you. Can't you see? She's not good for you. Don't let me see you cheat. She's not good for you. She's a bad meat. Sacred cow, I want you now. I need you in my casserole. India, Australia, the poison just to keep affecting me. Don't eat the cow, don't eat the cow, don't eat the woo. Don't eat the cow, don't eat the cow, don't eat the cow, don't eat the cow. What you gonna do when the price goes up? What you gonna do when the meat runs out? Just kill those cows. What you gonna do when the price goes up? What you gonna do when the meat runs out? Just kill those cows. Sacred cow, I want you now. I need you in my casserole. India, Australia, wanted to keep affecting me.